Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. Today on the show, we've got another Nike fumble of LeBron James's sneakers. A familiar name is back to run Foot Locker. A fair and totally definitive ranking of Crocs and NFL clogs. Science will confirm this later. The week's hottest releases, and of course, our Hard Pass. All right, let's start with some hot takes. And keep two rules in mind today. We have guiding principles. Give the people what they want, and don't be an asshole. 2 rules, unlimited applications. We'll keep calling back to those like they're Jordan Tinker lines on a retro. All right. During last week's episode of the Too Hard to Pass podcast, check that Tuesday at 2, which is dangerously easy to remember, Fungus210 left an interesting comment that honestly we haven't thought about in a very long time. Shout out to Fungus210 and his Abe Lincoln holding a John Cena WWE Championship spinner belt profile pic, which frankly is the crossover America deserves. If Cena needs his serious actor pivot, that's your poster. 4 score and 5 moves of doom. Anyway, back in early 2021, Nike introduced a vote back program that featured 16 different Nike LeBron player exclusives that, at the time, had never been available to the public. Think March Madness if the selection committee was vibes, nostalgia, and which one is closest to the left side of your phone screen. Because, let's be honest, the conspiracy theory that it was a hate vote is fun, but Occam's razor says a bunch of people just tapped left and went on with their day. You'd be shocked how often democracy is decided by the geometry of a phone. Yes, there were clunkers, but not all PEs are created equal, a saying I just invented and will patent if Nike doesn't first. But buried among the meds were some heaters. The Nike LeBron 6 Stewie Griffin that co-writer picked for LeBron's sneaker Mount Rushmore Plus, the Nike LeBron 7 Hardwood Classics, and the purple suede Nike Air Zoom Generations that all felt like locks to at least make the Final Four. The final result ended up being the Nike LeBron 10 ring ceremony that James wore for opening night of the 2013-2014 NBA season. Not exactly everybody's first pick, but also wasn't their last choice either. It's like pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving. Sure, you would rather have sweet potato pie, but you also need something to get the taste of the potato salad your uncle's new girlfriend brought to dinner out of your mouth. It's just that fans assume that Stewie 6s are the purple Zoom Generations, which did drop in 2023, would get the nod. But it's been radio silence on Nike's part since then, and outside of a mention on the Complex Sneaker podcast by former host and friend of the program Brendan Dunn a few months back, it's been LeBron fans wondering aloud, what's going on? Look, I don't have a secret plug, burner slacks, or a mystical handshake that opens up a Beaverton vault. My DMs are just memes and the occasional dog and little Jordans. But Nike, this is a fumble. You already rolled out the LeBron 23 overseas, and now the vote back winner ghosts us? The entire point of a vote back is to do the thing that people voted for. As Jalen Rose would say, give the people what they want. Give them the ring ceremony, or the runner-up, or a roadmap, or, wild thought, give them all of the above. Congratulations to Ann Freeman. She is now the new president of Foot Locker North America, and her statement reads like a corporate haiku of all the right nouns. Rich heritage, innovative experiences, variety of consumers, accelerate growth, enrich partnerships, inspire the next generation. It's corporate Mad Libs, but the sentiment matters. Steady hands, clear path, fewer lines wrapped around malls for shoes that never arrived. What it didn't say, understandably, is the part that the internet screamed in 72-point font. Ann Freeman used to be Ann Herbert, VP of Nike North America. You might remember Herbert or her son Joe, aka West Coast Joe, as the catalyst of one of the most notorious sneaker reselling scandals of all time. Back in 2021, Joe ran West Coast Streetwear, a sneaker reseller business that he partially funded using Ann's credit card. While an internal investigation by Nike cleared Ann of any involvement in the business besides the use of a non-Nike credit card that was under her name, the optics were beyond repair. Fair or not, basically everyone assumes that Joe was using insider information and a Nike credit card to better predict what sneakers to buy and sell. Now, we're going to assume that Dick's Sporting Goods, who recently completed their acquisition of Foot Locker, did their due diligence and figured Freeman was worth any potential scrutiny by media and sneakerheads. Because if they didn't, man, it's yet another example of C-suites taking care of their own with zero consequences. Also, and I say this fondly, every executive package should include a legally binding pinky swear. No family credit cards touching footwear commerce. Not for a shoe, not for a sock, not for a foam giblet that is legally distinct from a gibbets. Trust is built the boring way, with transparency and stock on shelves. Or, second callback, give the people what they want. the shoe in their size on release day without a side quest. Moving on to our pick of the week. It's the NFL Crocs Classic Clog. These are dropping on the 18th for $85 each. Now, to celebrate the new NFL season, Crocs is dropping the first wave of their team-branded classic clogs with special gibbets that match the team's vibes. 14 teams are being represented in this first go-round, so expect the rest to drop as the season marches along. So in honor of the new season, this is a feeling-based ranking performed in a climate-controlled lab, my studio, unswayed by on-field results, Vegas lines, or your uncle's Facebook comments. It's definitive until I change my mind. So this is the S rank, aka nothing else matters. This is Foam's Mona Lisa. NFL Crocs Classic Clogs, five-time Super Bowl champion, San Francisco 49ers. Okay, you got to give me that one. Okay, the A rank, aka the cream of the crop 949ers division. The only mistake they made is that they were not red and gold. So we have the Chicago Bears, navy that reads Lux, add in Italian beef gibbets, and we can call it culture. Miami Dolphins, teal and orange were born for Crocs. SPF 50 gibbets, or we riot. Houston Texans, clean two tones, quietly handsome, needs a brisket charm for legal compliance. B rank, aka conference championship game energy. Minnesota Vikings, purple Crocs, brave. Horns and Nordic vibes, they carry on. Denver Broncos, orange elevation achieved. A tiny altitude mask, that would be a chef kiss of a gibbets. Cincinnati Bengals, tiger stripings on foam is dangerously effective. Add a burrow headband charm, and you can literally take my money. Buffalo Bills, blue, red, it works. It requires a hot wing and a folding table duo gibbets to be the canon. Next one, C rank. Schrodinger's playoff teams, alive and eliminated, almost at the same time. So you have the Las Vegas Raiders, black on black gives you that, you know what, you can't come in here with those. Detroit Lions, Honolulu Blue, brightens up the foam, slightly safe for a team biting kneecaps. Philadelphia Eagles, midnight green, solid. Vibes currently read subtweet. Cheesesteak charm is absolutely required. And then we have the D rank, aka I could have designed these, and honestly, if you've seen me design anything, you know that that is not a compliment. So we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Primary dots on black foam is tough sledding. Where's the terrible towel strap though? That would have been perfect. Kansas City Chiefs. Red Crocs are potent, somehow still giving ketchup on a well-done steak. And then there's J rank, aka no one cares, totally irrelevant, should never be taken seriously. That team that Jerry Jones owns. Foam cannot fix hubris. Next question. Look, if your team isn't on wave one, relax. Your Crocs are in, let's say, conditioning drills. And yes, these rankings are neutral, they're unbiased, and they're scientifically sound. Unless you disagree, which in case, that means that this list was pure performance art. It's time for this week's hard passes, where we take a look at a few things in the culture that just need to go, like the concept of a PlayStation 6 or a next Xbox, because brother, we're just getting started. It's been widely reported that the successor to the PlayStation 5 is on the way, with speculation that the target launch is sometime in 2027. Bold move to assume we're all still here by then, Sony, but you know, okay. And that's not all. Word is 3 PS6 SKUs, a $700 to $800 base. My wallet just filed a grievance with Sony. A cheaper Xbox Series S style sibling, and a portable that definitely plays PS5 and maybe PS6 if Mercury's in retrograde and you say please. Got it. Makes sense. Cool. It's also dumb because we haven't finished this generation's story. Meanwhile, Xbox, the clear loser of this generation, is also in the process of trying to figure out how they can convince people to buy whatever's next, even though all of their games are coming to every other platform. It would be like Netflix letting Disney Plus and HBO Max stream Squid Game and then wondering why their Squid Game numbers are down. Yes. 7 years mirrors the PS4, Xbox One, PS5, Xbox Series S timeline. But we don't live in a normal timeline. We live in the branch where a Kang variant thinks ending vaccine mandates is science because they haven't heard of polio or measles. That's not how this works, man. You're a doctor and you're being played by the... Anyway, back to the dumb. Look, it doesn't even feel like this console generation has really started. While there have been a number of games exclusive to this generation that are top quality bangers that people will be talking about for years to come, there hasn't been that game that makes you believe that these machines have been pushed to their limits. Grand Theft Auto 6 was supposed to be that game, but it's going to drop in 2026 at the earliest, and by then, Sony and Microsoft will be trying to convince us that our consoles are old and busted and GTA 6 will run way better on the new shiny boxes. Another reason for the malaise of this generation is that there hasn't been that game that has gotten kids to stop playing Minecraft or Fortnite or Roblox or Call of Duty. You've got your Elden Rings and Hollow Knight Silk Songs that will grab the zeitgeist for a month or two, but the younger generation doesn't move from game to game like they used to. In turn, developers take less risk and console makers raise prices. They would rather squeeze every dime out of their existing but dwindling base instead of taking risks that might pay off huge long term. Kind of like podcast comedians who recycle the same bits over and over again and punch down to the same audience over and over again instead of trying something new and potentially alienating, like having Mark Maron on the show. Can't put him on the thumbnails because it might piss off the bros. Come on now. Look, the reality is that there is no easy fix for this. But thinking the solution is to charge us even more for a new box instead of maximizing the potential of the current one, no matter how long it takes, is a dangerous move. And when I mean dangerous move, I mean mostly for Microsoft. The failure of Game Pass and the abandoning of exclusive titles are signs that there's really no justifiable reason to get another Xbox. And if there's no reason to get an Xbox, there's no reason for Microsoft to live the lie that they're anything more than a huge-ass third-party developer now. PlayStation will survive because they're clinging on to their exclusive end because the brand is strong. Well, maybe not as strong as before, but at least it's stronger than Xbox. Oh, and while all this is happening, Nintendo is going to make truckloads of money while operating on their own time. They make underpowered consoles that fans will buy in multiple SKUs and colorways because they understand the power of keeping everything in their ecosystem. Yeah, they're like Apple in the sense that when they introduce a new feature, it's treated like a revolution, even though Google and Samsung already did the same thing 5 years prior. The difference between Nintendo and Apple is that Nintendo is the only place you can play Mario and Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem. Yes, I mentioned those three franchises and they do have games on the App Store, but let's be real. Those things barely count and were probably the result of a few drunk meetings between Nintendo and Apple execs in Shibuya. They'll be fine no matter what. Next up is that it's never okay to be a jackass to people you ostensibly look up to online. The past few weeks have been bad for professional wrestlers, especially for women. From fans practically hounding Rhea Ripley to the point she has to be pushed up against her Uber ride, to jerk-offs harassing Nikki Bella for a difference of opinion she had with a beloved commenter on the show that happened to coincide with an unrelated but planned break from said commentator. It is amazing just how brazenly daring fans are getting just because they stan a performer. And we're not even talking about the Angel Reese discourse, which is just misogyny with a little bit of racism garnish. And now we've got a cocktail that no one wants. Support is great. Critique can be healthy. Harassment is neither. Just please don't be an asshole. That sounds like such a small thing, but not being an asshole goes a long way. When people ask me for a photo or a question, I'm grateful every time. But I also know creators who've had to map exit strategies from a meet and greet. While I doubt anybody watching this is that kind of person, you guys are great, even when we disagree or tussle in the comments. But if you know somebody that knows somebody who is an asshole, tell them not to be an asshole. And for our last hard pass this week, it goes to the kid who called out another kid for wearing non-hyped sneakers. On Reddit, a special kind of online hellhole that I keep telling co-writer to stop wading in, he saw a post on the r/sneakers about a kid who got called out by a friend for wearing a pair of Air Jordan 1 UNC Black Toes. Now, without any context beyond telling him the ones are now lame, we're left to assume that this was not playful teasing, but rather an attempt to be an asshole just because the sneakers were not cool enough in their opinion. And what did we just say about being assholes? Don't be an asshole, people. But I'm going to take a slightly different direction here and say that there's a lane wherein that person who made the joke is within their right to do so. Because not much context was given beyond the initial comment, let's be generous and say that these people are close enough friends that they feel comfortable saying to each other that their fits are lame. They're not doing it to be a jerk, but rather to be helpful. Maybe at their school, everyone is a hypercritical prick and they're just doing a service by making sure they're not picked on. Or maybe the sneakers just aren't appropriate for whatever reason. Jokes like that are not from a place of malice, but a place of caring. I'm lucky enough that I have friends in my life who will call me out if my fit is out of whack or just isn't appropriate for the occasion. I think we can carve out that space and not just jump on the friend right away for being an a-hole. Of course, that's the super generous approach. The more likely reality is that the kid is a sneaker Karen and is being super disrespectful just because Jordans aren't the trend anymore. To which I gotta say, like, mind your business, kid. Kale fell off too, but I'm not slapping forks out of people's hands. Let your friend, assuming you are that tight, rock the sneakers that they like. For over a decade, trying to get a pair of Jordans was not easy for anybody just doing it the old-fashioned way of trying to hit a raffle. Nah, that required dedication, hustle, connections, and a bot or two. And now that it's no longer the case and motherfucking shattered backboards are an easy pickup, they're jokes now. What are we doing here, people? Being judgmental about sneakers, especially stuff that's just GRs, is like junior gatekeeping, and that sucks. Keeping with the trends is something that has only gotten worse as the years have gone on. Before, I only really had to think about what my friends and other people at school thought, and honestly, I mostly didn't give a shit. But now that kids have to deal with what's hot on the other side of the country and even across the pond, it's not worth it, kids. It's a never-ending battle that will get you nowhere. Learn to balance the online and offline world, and you'll be better for it. By the way, Co-Writer and I both realized that the Reddit thread could just be someone engagement farming and the story didn't actually happen. It's fine. Let's think of it as a learning experience. This after-school special was brought to you by Jacques Slade. Wait, do they even have after-school special? Never mind. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you guys for watching Hard Pass. I'm Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week, but not before I feature this voicemail.
Yo, Jacques. It's Coach B again. Coach_B.SG on socials. And I want to give a hard pass to Foot Locker Inc. Shame on them for hiring Ann Freeman as CEO, literally on the heels of completing their deal to live under the Dick's Sporting Goods umbrella. Now, this one hits a little close to home because I worked at Lady Foot Locker in the late 90s, early 2000s. Back then, my passion was sneakers and girls in that order. You know, high school team. I saw firsthand how much the brand mattered to sneaker culture. Even now, I go into Foot Locker to feel that sense of nostalgia. I'll refold a shirt here or there, fix the hangers in size order, you know, for old time's sake. But not anymore, because this really feels like nepotism is beating out meritocracy, and that ain't it. And Jacques, I know you appreciate this one. That last man, Freeman, already sets up a joke about how her son was and what it's about to do on a grander scale. But I'll leave that one to you and co-writer. All right, appreciate you. Juan.
Okay, look, if you would like to possibly be featured in a future episode, call us at 818-493-9325. Leave a short message, your socials if you want, no more than 30 seconds. All right, I'll see you next week. Peace.